What's up, everybody? I'm Mckenty. This is my second channel where I talk about business and marketing, personal development, that sort of thing that's not really a fit for my main channel. In this video, I am going to bring you the video version of a podcast that I recently did with Shayne Smith, the comedian that you might have seen with the XXX neck tattoos and all that. I don't normally put out the video versions of my podcast, but a lot of people have asked for it, and I really enjoyed this conversation, so I figured, you know what? Why not put it out and see what happens? If you like this, make sure you check out the podcast. There's a link to it in the description. There's a new episode every week where I sit down with people who have found a way to make a living doing what they love, whether that is music, design, art, YouTube, whatever, and always with the goal of pulling out useful stuff that you can use to do the same. So hopefully you like this one. I'm a huge fan of what Shayne does. Very glad to have him on, and let's get into it. Shayne Smith, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for making time for this.
Oh, dude, thanks for having me.
I feel like we have been friends for years, although this is the first time we've spoken. I feel like we have been friends.
Yeah. There's that weird hardcore kid bond where you just immediately you're like, oh no, if something happens, I'll have this person's back.
We must have slept on a floor next to a pile of cat barf at some point or another.
Yeah. I'm sure that we have like tons of mutual friends on accident, things of this nature.
I'm sure. Well, like a lot of people, the first time I became aware of you was a couple years ago when I saw you on YouTube, on the Dry Bar channel or whatever that is. And I was like, wait a minute, are those like XXX neck tattoos? Like who is this man? So I guess tell us who Shayne Smith is for, the hardcore kids who are listening, and when the XXX neck tattoo entered your life.
Yeah. So
to normal people having that tattoo is weird, but to people listening to this show, it's like we know like 50 people that have that tattoo. So
yeah,
a little bit of a different perspective.
Exactly. That is funny. I am a comic, and I got this tattoo. Man, how old is this tattoo? Well, my tattoo's a cover up. So when I was young, I was like in a motorcycle club and doing that sort of thing. And so I had gang tattoos on my neck and my arm.
Motorcycle club meaning the kind that you see on America's Most Wanted. Not like the kind that park outside Cracker Barrel.
Yeah. So I guess your audience may be familiar with this. Because I'm a metal kid, but hardcore kids also know this. So like a lot of motorcycle clubs recruit from straight edge culture, basically,
especially like in Salt Lake, your neck of the woods.
Yeah, so there's kind of a funnel between, I think, hip hop, rap, and metal into crime, because and not through any fault of the music itself, but just because it's adjacent to lower class culture, and so like. If you grow up poor, that's a good indicator that you're a down ass dude. You're gonna do what you need to do to make money or survive. And that's how you vet people when you want them to do things like
there's that like Salt Lake, Reno motorcycle club kind of pipeline, which you were apparently part of.
Orange County also, unfortunately. And so I kind of like got funneled into there. And then I very luckily kind of funneled myself out, and as I got out of that lifestyle, I was still like, oh no, but straight edge and hardcore were the coolest part of all of that. So when I got my cover up, I was like, let's just throw some big ass black X's and some roses, let's do that. So and there you go. And now I have a straight edge throat tattoo. I do tell people that I like Vin Diesel. I tell I tell normal people who ask me about it all the time, because you have to have that conversation about straight edge. Every time I tell a normal person I'm straight edge, they either say, I don't know what that is, which is fine. And then I have to explain it, which is kind of annoying. Or they say, oh, aren't those the guys that like carve X's into people? And I'm like, where did that rumor come from? Because I don't think I've heard of some wild things, but never carving X's into people.
So that one, from what I understand, is like 1/4 true. We probably, I have some mutual friends with the person who apparently did that. And apparently it was a fight where somebody, was cut on the back, and the person who was cut decided that they were trying to carve an X in his back when really they were just stabbing him.
Oh, okay. That's so funny that it's like Lieutenant Aldo Rain jacked our style, you know.
That's my understanding anyway. I don't know. But so it's interesting, you know, when I heard that when I was researching you a couple years ago after I saw that video, it seems like you did get in a little bit of trouble as a kid, which was surprising to me because you seem like such a nice person. You know, not that nice people can't get in trouble, but you seem like a really nice guy, and it was just kind of surprising to me to see that.
Yeah, I get that all the time. I am a nerd at heart.
I mean, you have a Middle Earth poster behind you right now for those listening.
I do. I'm a big nerd, and I'm a goofball. But I mean, as you know, like you know, it's tough to judge a kid by, especially growing up in like the hardcore scene. The goofiest, most fun kids also tend to be real down with some wild stuff out of nowhere. So
I know some terrifying people who collect Star Wars figures.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the thing is I was always very unassuming, and people, you know, people were saying what you're saying right now about me when I was doing home invasions for money. So I like, you know, it's always been a strength. It's always played to my strength that I'm like well-spoken and approachable. And I've used that to get out of a lot of trouble, honestly.
But you avoided ever going to prison, right?
I've never been to prison. No, I've never been to prison. I've never been to prison, and and I would like to also clarify, I've never made a deal with the police ever. Those two things have never happened. So my nose is clean on both ends.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So where did comedy come into this? When did you decide that was going to be your thing?
So, I got my life together in my mid 20s. And then, I was like, I should get a girlfriend for the first time. And I did, like a serious girlfriend. And then I was like, okay, so I have a job, I have a girlfriend. My life is like kind of normal. And then I kind of, once I got my life together and I was like 27, 28 years old. I mean, it's no good to be 28 and be like, all right, now what?
Well, I mean, I think that was pretty much me and probably a lot of people listening to this. So I mean, that's kind of the normal hardcore kid thing, is you do a bunch of crazy, stupid shit, you know, until you're like 29 and you're like, all right, let's get this show on the road.
Yeah. So that's kind of what happened. I was like, oh man, what should I do with myself? And then I like kind of toyed around with going to school, and then I tried personal training, and, you know, I just kind of like didn't know what to do with myself. And I felt really unfulfilled. And I just I wanted like meaning, and I wanted something to work towards, and kind of I'm gonna put all my energy into the one thing kind of guy. And I was just struggling to find that, and I decided,
you don't have crime anymore, so comedy was the natural alternative.
No, and I'm not a good musician. You know, I always tried being a band and stuff, and I really liked performing. And so I had done like a lot of writing. I had written like poetry and games, and I had done like things like this. So I was like, and I'd always been the funny guy. And it had always been something that interested me. So I just decided, you know what? I'm going to go for it. This is my plan. And I just did. And here I am. So.
And how old are you now?
I'm 34.
Okay. So you've been doing this for a little while. Yeah. Comedy is a tough way to make a living, from what I understand. And you've managed to do it. When did you kind of realize, like, all right, this is going to work out?
About 2 years ago.
Okay.
So I'm still pretty new to not having a day job and sort of doing comedy as my full-time gig. And it's still like very stressful. I don't know if you YouTube full time. Do you?
I don't, but I could.
Okay. And I mean, if you do, one of the reasons you don't probably is just because there's this strange feeling of it could just all go away in a moment.
Yes, exactly.
And
that's exactly why.
Yeah, and living with that has been really weird. But I'm trying to, like, I decided to, I was working as a comic, and I was like, oh, I have enough money that I could just put all my energy into comedy. But I was still at the time, right before I started doing comedy full time, I was working at a t-shirt factory, which is like a printing press place. It was miserable.
I used to do printing. It sucks shit.
Yeah, I was like doing quality control. So I was like in a room with a machine that was like 135 degrees. So I was just like wearing my underwear, checking shirts, sweating my ass off, you know, and it was brutal. And but I was doing that. And then I would like go on the weekends and go headline a comedy club. And I was like, oh, I should put all my energy into comedy, because I think working this job is sort of defeating the purpose of like following my dreams. Yeah. So I went for it the whole way, and here I am, but it's been stressful.
Were those videos as big of a breakthrough for you as it seems like?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny that they were, because I did that dry bar, that first show. I wrote that 45-minute set in like 6 months, because they asked me to do a clean set and I didn't have one. I'm not a clean comic by trade. I mean, most comics aren't clean. It's very hard to do clean comedy. Sure. So they were like, they were like, hey, we'll pay you this much money, and then we'll put you like on our website if you can do clean comedy. And I needed the money so badly that I was like, absolutely, yes, I've got a clean hour. And they were like, oh, okay, great. And then I set to work writing the hour I lied about having immediately, you know, a classic sure. thing. I mean, every job I've ever gotten in comedy, I've lied to get, I'll be honest. If you're listening to this and you're, you know, an agent or something, it's a joke. Me. But yeah, it's a joke. It's all a joke. But yeah, even my very first show I ever did, they asked me if I had 10 minutes of comedy, and I didn't. And I was like, yeah, yep, I do. And sure. Just did it. So, well,
yeah, I think that format works so well for you because of the way you look. Like for other people doing, you know, they have to do edgy stuff because otherwise they'll seem corny. You know, just the way you look already establishes the fact that you're not, you know, that corny G-rated comic, you know. And so I think that disparity between the two, it was actually like a perfect kind of way for you to kind of burst into the public.
Yeah, I think so.
It'd be better than if you did some filthy, super edgy thing. Be like, all right, the guy with tattoos, you know, did some filthy, edgy comedy. That's expected.
Yeah, totally. And I'm like very aware of that too. So even in my non-clean comedy, I'm very careful not to purposefully try to just be like shocking or whatever, because I am friends with a lot of pretty shocking comics where I'm like, damn, I can't believe this is what you're saying, but sure. Yeah, I did that clean comedy and it blew up. I thought it would go nowhere. I literally thought I was going to collect a small check and then be on my way. But one day someone was like, hey, you're on the front page of Reddit. And I was like, no way. And I went and looked and I was like, oh my God, I am. And then, you know, the next thing I knew, I had an agent called me and I had like, you know, 60 million views or something on Facebook. That was absurd. And then from there, it was just off to the races.
Well, you know, I think the reason why it worked so well is because you're just like, it was comedy, but it wasn't even comedy. You were just telling the truth, you know?
Yeah.
And I think the best comedy comes from just that kind of really authentic truth.
I think so too. I'm very lucky in that I learned comedy by hanging out with and doing black rooms, which is like
like black people.
Yeah. So there's like there's a different comedy circuit completely where black comics do like black churches and I made friends with a couple of black comics and they took me on the road with them and helped me out. I mean, and then I look up to a lot of like Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, Miss Pat, one of the greatest comedians of all time. Like no one makes me laugh harder than Miss Pat. She fucking absolutely crushes. If you've never heard of her, go look her up on Netflix. Okay. She has a special on the Degenerates that like is world-endingly good. But so I learned this very like conversational like style, because in those rooms they'll suss out if you're not being authentic. Right. You can't do like an impression of a comic. And I think that most comedy right now, it is kind of comedies in like a and I don't want to talk bad on like a lot of my I guess coworkers, you could say, my peers, but they have a weird style where they're almost doing an impression of what they think a comic is.
Yeah.
And you watch it and you're like, oh, this is so dorky. It's almost kind of cringes you out if you're a little bit removed from it.
I don't like stand-up comedy for that exact reason. Like almost all of it, I'm just like, it just doesn't it doesn't seem like they are reflecting on something that they know is true. It seems like you said, like they're doing a bit, and I don't like bits.
Yeah, I don't either. And like I do bits, I write them, you know, but like there's you could just feel that it's inauthentic. There's some like unspoken thing, I think, in music and comedy, and not to get too woo-woo about it, but there's like this magic that like when you go to a good show, especially metal, I think personally, and like in hip hop, and there's like this like energy that we're all sharing in the room, and you can feel when it's real and you can feel when it's not. Like I've seen you know, like a really heavy band live and been like, holy shit, this is the realest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like I need to get up on top of something and jump off of it right now. and I've also seen really heavy bands doing the same thing, essentially saying that, you know, similar things, and you can just tell that they don't mean it in the same way, and it doesn't hit the same way.
That's why a lot of like death metal and stuff doesn't really do much for me, especially now that I'm older. I used to listen to a lot of that stuff, and it's like, well, you're just writing something edgy because you think that's what you're supposed to do. Whereas there's a band like Death Threat where they have lyrics that are ridiculous. Like they have one that's when you've got nothing, you don't give a fuck, which is so stupid. But at the same time, it's like, man, I know what you're talking about, you know, it's so dumb, but it hits so hard because you know that it's a reflection of the truth.
I think that's why genres like hardcore and black metal have these wildly rabid fans that get physical about their love for the music, because it's so absurd that it feels like it shouldn't even be possible. No one should do what they do at hardcore or black metal shows. No one should like black metal. It's like when have you ever shown black metal to like a normal human being and they're like, what are you doing right now? I mean,
it's the literal intent of the music is to make something that is unpalatable to anybody sane.
But it's so authentic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're tapped into that, you can feel how much they mean it, even though it's absurd, that you can't help but like feel passionate about it. And I try to do some kind of, I don't know that I can like game the system and physically do it in my comedy, but I try to like maintain that authenticity.
Well, that's why I tend to like a lot of like the comics that I like are not people like me, like sort of, you know, middle of the road, like white guys. I just don't find them funny. I like, have you seen that show? Well, I like a lot of sitcoms or series that are like started by or written by comedians. Like, have you seen Never Have I Ever?
No, I haven't actually.
It's fucking great. It's basically like the Wonder Years, except it's about an Indian girl from the Valley. Mindy Kaling is like executive producer. I think she wrote some of it.
Oh, okay.
And
she's a genius.
She's incredible.
Yeah.
You know, or Jimmy O Yang, he's great too. These people that I think, you know, sort of like you are, as opposed to where a lot of these comics are trying to say something funny, they're just sort of talking about their own experience in life and trying to present it in a way that's entertaining. And that is a lot more interesting to me personally than someone who's like kind of sitting down with a blank piece of paper trying to write a joke, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I don't, there is, if you've ever been at dinner and you feel like someone's performing to you, it makes me there's
want to
that
hide.
Yeah, it makes me want to hide, or it like activates that 19-year-old straight educated in me, and I'm just like, I want to punch this person out like right now. You know, it's like,
yeah.
If you ever hung out, like, you know, you hang out like in those weird situations, like your girlfriend's got a guy friend and he's like, being sing-songy, and like you're just like, I'll kill this person. I cannot believe how awful they are. I hate
a person
that.
who has a copy of Boondock Saints at home.
Yeah, it's really bad.
You know, or people that say, that's why I don't like Quentin Tarantino either. I feel like every line of his dialogue is just written with the intent of people like that saying it at parties or whatever to try to seem clever, or edgy, or entertaining. It's just painful.
Yeah, that's the thing that gets me. The Quentin Tarantinos, the Metallicas, where they start very authentic and they're like sort of I don't give a fuck authenticity. Right. It's what like propels them to fame, and then they get fame and then they get lost in the sauce and they spiral out, and now you have this like horrific product and you're like, oh no, you were the one.
Well, it's got to be tough. You know, I think about that a lot. You know, there's stuff that I wrote. You know, I used to have a blog years ago that some people liked. And there's people that ask me, you know, to do that sort of stuff. Like, oh, I wish you still did stuff like that. And I can't, because that was like 10 years ago and I'm a different person now. And if I did it, it would, you know, and when I did, I was not in a great place in life back then. And the work reflected it. And I'm in a much better place in life now. And I just I couldn't be edgy now because I'm not an edgy person anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I feel that. I definitely, and I don't want to be. Definitely. Yeah, that's a tough one. But yeah, I guess getting lost.
Do you deliberately self-sabotage to make sure that your work stays authentic? Yes.
I live a lifestyle where I don't know that I could ever not be. You know what I definitely, I'm a minimalist, so I live like way below my means. And I like kind of, I have a lot of ideas about how I want to live my life, and I think it keeps me pretty grounded. I'm very lucky in that way that I figured that out.
What kind of ideas do you mean?
Like I'm definitely like, as far as politics go, I'm a communist, and so I have a lot of, I try to be like very focused on how I fit into the big picture and what's going on around me. And, you know, that keeps you humble for sure. It does. And then I also, minimalism is important to me. So I try not to like own anything extraneous or crazy. I definitely try to never, ever, ever be in charge in a way. Like I never try to leverage my like perceived power. Like I Twitch stream, that's like my main source of income, and like we have a Twitch community and we have a Discord, and I'm not even a mod. Like I'm not in charge of my own Discord community, which is like a huge important part of me making money. I have other people in charge of it.
Don't you think that's kind of like consistent? I do the same thing. I mean, I guess I'm a mod in my Discord, but I suppose I'm assigned that privilege in the software, but I literally never use it, and I don't.
That's me. That's me also.
Yeah. Because I just wouldn't want someone else to actually have the keys, because that would just not be smart. But I never use it, and I feel like that's kind of, to me, it's the same as like I just conduct myself like it was a hardcore show. Like if it was a show and someone's going around telling everyone what they can and can't do and just acting like, you know, a narc.
Yeah,
it's just not. That's not fun. It's not cool. And I don't like it. And just anything that to me feels like, you know, I or anyone else is like on a different tier than the audience just feels weird to me. Like just even saying the word fans to me, like I would never use that word because that just feels very strange to me.
Absolutely. I'm 100% with you. My peers who are comics, they do not have this mentality. You know, they openly talk about, oh, I wish I could hit 10,000 followers. Oh, let's do it. Let's get here. Let's do this. And in that, I'm very uncomfortable with that kind of like calling someone my follower, talking about my clout or perceived clout or whatever. All of that makes me very uncomfortable. I'm still very much rooted in that like hardcore kid collective sort of like we're all in this together. You know, I still remember I used to live in this small town in Utah, and our shows wouldn't be big, But what we would do is we would all pool money together for the guarantee for the band, and we would just pay the guarantee to them, and then the show would be free. And so we would pay bands. So like I saw so many huge, like way bigger than they should have been bands. Like I saw the Warriors with just 30 people, in like a little warehouse when they were like popping off, like, because we just got together and every single one of us were like, if we pay this much, they'll come here, right. And like we got it together. We had crazy shows. Like we saw Death Star X. I don't know if you remember them. One of my favorite bands I've ever seen live. And we saw them. We did like a parking lot show and my band played with them. And we were like on top of a U-Haul and the police came to shut us down for rioting because it was so out of hand, like really fun stuff. And that was all about like the collective, and I definitely still have that mentality. And I think it's a part of my success on social media.
Well, I was going to ask about like kind of the difference between you and other comedians, because, my experience has been that comedians tend to be pretty dysfunctional, oftentimes kind of scummy, not great people. And I'm not saying that judgmentally. I was not aware of that. And just from listening to them on podcasts and stuff, I was like, wow, these people are pretty fucked up and not actually the kind of people I would really ever want to associate with for the most part. And I could be totally, that's just based on me listening to podcasts. And you certainly don't seem like that kind of person to me. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that I'm a scumbag in like other ways, I think a lot of comics have done like, they'll talk about things. And I don't try to judge them, but I'm like, oh yeah, you're all fucked up. Whereas when I say I'm fucked up, I'm like, yeah, they used to rob drug dealers for a living, or like, I've like been a part of, I've like done robberies and like, things like this, things that I regret, like, lots of fights and stuff.
Sure. That stuff doesn't bother me. It's more just like when they talk about like hooking up with, groupies and stuff like that, just makes me just go, yuck.
That's the thing where I'm like, I say what I've done and people are like, you hit a guy with a sword? And I was like, well, yeah.
I don't know. I know like 20 people who have done that.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm like. That's like a normal thing where I'm from. Like, if you never sword fought before, and then they're like, oh yeah, and I fucked this girl and she was like very drunk, but it was fine. And I'm like,
no, it's not fucking fine.
No, never. And never in my life. I've actually gotten in trouble in comedy because several times not only female comics but also male comics have had issues with another person in the scene sort of being like sexually inappropriate or whatever, and I'm like, let's fucking roll out now. And other comics were like, no, absolutely not, we don't handle things that way. And I'm like,
why not?
I absolutely do though. Why why do we not? The broken staircase is very real in comedy.
What is that? I don't know what that means.
The broken staircase metaphor is there's this person, we'll just say that there's a person in comedy who books a show locally. And I don't know how much this exists at my higher level. I don't hear about it anymore. But when I was first starting, the community's much bigger at the bottom. And there's like people who run little shows and stuff everywhere. But there'll be a guy who like runs one show at a bar. And like, of course, we all want to be on that show because we need stage time. And girls will be like, yeah, he'll grab your ass, sexually harass you, and send you messages that are inappropriate. And he gets away with it all the time because he never does quite enough to get canceled, but he's gross. And so in the female community, they all know like, oh, he's gross, watch out for him. That's a piece of a broken staircase. So they step over it.
I see.
Exactly. But if you don't, if your plan is to warn people about the staircase and never fix it, eventually someone's going to step on that step and fall through.
Right.
And so my whole thing is let's fuck up that part of the staircase.
Let's get a hammer out and take care of that.
Yeah. And so I have been in trouble for that before, which is a weird thing, but
that's one of the parts of comedy culture to me from the outside. Again, I may be totally wrong. It just seems so different from, our world where, I mean, you would be literally taking your life in your hands to act that way.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. To misstep in that way. And yeah, it's especially now. I mean, even when we first started going to shows, it was incredibly dangerous to do anything like that. But I mean, guys were being scummy, but they were at least being scummy in a way where they weren't like severely mistreating anyone. But to even do anything in our modern times in the scene is just like good luck with that, bro.
Yeah.
And comedy, from what I understand, unfortunately, that's kind of just a show business thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've seen so much of that come out in the past couple years.
Yeah, it's incredibly unfortunate. And I'd even personally experienced some of it where I couldn't react in the normal way I would. And I kind of got some insight into why, certain victims of scummy people just kind of are trapped. And it's like a horrific thing. I've been up at night, like kind of, thinking about it, just being like, damn, I don't know how to fix this. And that is a part of show business. Well,
what I like about your business model is that it seems like you are able to largely sidestep that. Like you said, Twitch and Patreon and your podcast and stuff like that. I know you do play shows, but it doesn't seem like you kind of operate on that road dog sort of model, like Bill Burr playing 300 shows a year or whatever, you know, and so you can kind of do things on your own terms.
I am what's called an industry outsider. So there are some comics, I think he's not as much anymore, but Andrew Schultz was an example of this. There are comics who get popular online and they kind of sidestep the industry because the industry, just like the music industry, will scoop people up and it will say, oh, you're going, I see that you have potential. And I'm going to like blow on this ember and create a flame. And then I'm going to make all the money as you come up.
Right.
But I accidentally just got popular without anyone else through the internet. And so I kind of circumvented them. And then they didn't know what to do with me. So over time, I've kind of just like got my own thing. And even my agent isn't a normal comedy agent. I mean, my agent is I don't remember what band is Alex Terrible in.
Is it Brandis?
No, it's not Brandis Sacrifice, but
it's the other band that sounds just like them.
yeah. So my agent is like a bunch of deathcore bands agent. He's also a Day to Remember's agent and things like this. So yeah, I don't even have a normal agent. My agent is like a hardcore kid who manages all these bands. Should I even say?
Oh, yeah, maybe not. You don't have to say it.
Yeah. I was like, is this a business thing that I should be talking about? But
I know a bunch of people that work with Day to Remember, so I might know this person. You can tell me later.
Oh yeah. I mean, his name's JJ, so you may know him.
I don't know him, but
okay. Yeah. He's a Florida guy, and he's great, and he's been so awesome. But it's just funny that even when I do the normal industry things like get an agent, which is something like you're supposed to do, I don't even, it's not even normal, it's weird. So,
but I mean, if you had it to do over, I guess if I was to do it over, or if I had the opportunity to do comedy, I would way rather be in your shoes than somebody who's like, a slave to the comedy industry and having to travel 200 days a year and all that shit.
Yeah. And I am looking forward to touring more. I've toured a bunch, but I'm definitely not like a tour every week guy.
And you can do it when you want and on your terms, at least much more so than people who really depend on that.
And even when I do tour, I split my time between the traditional places, and I also make a big effort to go places where comedy doesn't normally go. Since I'm from a very small town in Utah, I know that how like important it is to have that where you are. So like I've spent a lot of time going to like Wyoming, Montana, New Mexico, smaller, weirder towns with like little theaters and stuff. And, I've done a lot of driving to get to those weird places. But when you do those, people are like fans for life. So
yeah, it's like, people in the big cities, in LA and New York and stuff, they have so many options. They get very jaded and, sometimes don't really get that excited about anything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. New York and LA are the worst places to perform by far.
Right.
They're terrible, dude. They're terrible because everyone's just like, I saw Bruce Willis yesterday. I do not care that you're here,
Yeah. Well, so how long have you been doing the Twitch thing?
I've been doing Twitch. I started right before the pandemic.
Okay, good timing.
So I started yeah. So I started last April. So I've been doing Twitch for about a year, like a little less than a year, about 10 months or whatever. And it's been great. It's something I had dabbled in before I even got popular in comedy because video games have always been a big part of my life. But it didn't become like a major thing with a schedule and a community. It was the main focus of mine until last year.
Got it. And what do you do? I haven't watched any of your streams. I apologize. I should.
No worries.
What do you do on there?
So I variety stream, which means I do play some video games, but about half of what I do is like commentary. So I just talk. So we talk about politics and things, and we talk about world events and the modern news, and then we also talk about just like whatever else. So like on Wednesdays, I watch bad reality TV, and we make fun of it and discuss the shows every Wednesday together. So like right now we're watching Flavor of Love, which is just like, dude, the 2010s like block of reality TV it's insane that it ever existed.
Have you watched Rock of Love recently?
That's what we started with. We started with all 3 seasons of Rock of Love.
Imagine Bret Michaels being the fucking prize.
I can't, dude. It's so insane, and he's already past his prime.
Yes,
at the time
like 43-year-old Bret Michaels.
It's crazy. It's absurd on another level that doesn't even make sense.
And like the way that they talked about women on those shows is mind blowing. That was only 15 years ago.
Those shows are the most problematic. Bret Michaels himself is insane, dude. So I've written for reality TV since becoming a comic, so I have like a little bit of inside baseball. So even watching the show, like I'm understanding what the producers are trying to accomplish, what's going on. And even from the insider, if you know how it's made, it's even crazier that it happened. Like,
so tell me about this, because I'm going to make a video about Rock of Love, and I want to hear this.
Well, so firstly, it's all real. Like it's happening. Like a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's a stage." Those women are not actors.
Right.
They are.
They are who they appear to be.
They are who they appear to be. Like they're crying because they're genuinely in love with Bret Michaels. Like, so that's happening, right? And also,
which I'm laughing at, but it's actually kind of sad and fucked up that like we put that on TV and exploit it.
Yeah,
and,
no, it's
create this. Basically, we create emotional distress for these people for our entertainment.
Well, when they do the show, they absolutely, they have tryouts, they're watching tapes, they're picking people who they think are going to be the most authentically into him, who are going to be the most problematic. They catch people in lies and allow them to stay.
Oh,
they've got, so the producers are very aware. Like, so when people like reveal they have a boyfriend, reveal they have a girlfriend at home, these kinds of things that like betray
Brett, this is going to blow up by episode 7. Let's keep her.
So when Bret Michaels is genuinely annoyed and distressed that a woman has a fiance at home and he's angry, he's too dumb to realize there are 3 guys like me who wrote the show who are like, yes, excellent. They know.
The puppet masters.
Dude, they absolutely knew, and they let it happen anyway. Not only do they know, but they interviewed her, went and looked into her, figured out like, oh, this chick is living with her boyfriend, and we're like, perfect, get her on the show, Jerry. You know, so like,
so it's as cynical as I think it is.
Oh, it's as evil as you think it is. And then on top of that, they do challenges where they're having these women like play football, full contact. The producers who made the show and wrote out the season were like, I mean, that's them being like, they don't need pads, they're fine. Right. Like in the third season, they have them play hockey with no mouth guards, no chest pads, no anything. And they're just playing hockey on the ice and a girl blows out her titty.
God, that's right.
And it's like, yeah, of course she was going to blow out her titty. Hockey's very dangerous, you guys.
Which is not funny. I mean, that's like a serious injury, you know?
Oh, yeah. It's wild. It's the whole show is so absurd. I couldn't believe it. And Bret Michaels is really having sex with these women. And he's genuinely, when you watch him and how unlikable he is and how perturbed he is about a lot of the women's behavior, that's all real. It's so crazy to me. To the end of the first season, not to spoil it for anyone who wants to watch, it is a 15-year-old show. Yeah. He genuinely threw the producers a curveball that they didn't know was going to happen and just tried to be with both women.
Hey, I mean, look, you can't fault the guy for trying. My favorite part of the show, which I haven't watched the whole thing in a long time, maybe you'll remember what episode it was. There's one of the girls who comes out with like some outfit I don't remember what it was, but they're like, they're like, well, ask him like, what are you thinking? It's like, there was movement, referring to like his dick.
Yes. He is such a scumbag.
Like, as opposed to saying she looked amazing. Like, yeah, I'd never seen her that way. She looked beautiful. There was movement.
He often betrays the women and then sends them off the show, and then to help them, to make them feel better about whatever horrific thing is happening, he goes, "You're very hot. I just want to make sure. Yes. I want to make sure." As she's devastated emotionally that he's betrayed her, right. He goes, "Oh, to reassure you, to like, I want you to know you're very hot right now."
Like when he's about to kick someone off the show. He makes sure to let them all. Now, I had such a hard time picking between all you beautiful girls. You're all so beautiful. It's very difficult for me to choose which one of you attractive ladies to send home.
Dude,
there's only one way you think about these people. Clearly,
he had a woman get his name tattooed on her, and then he didn't pick her.
God, I forgot about that.
Dude, that's another level. I mean, I wasn't even mad at him on that one. I was like, that's a baller move, dude. That's a baller move.
It's one way to think about it. Well, anyway, we got sidetracked, but I was curious about Twitch because this sounds pretty similar. I know I need to get on Twitch, and this sounds pretty similar to what I want to do, where, it's just like some I forget, somebody in my comments, she said like a friend simulator is kind of how I think about it.
That's what I call everything I do. I'm always like the friendship simulator, the podcast, Twitch. It's all, that's like that. Even my style of comedy, it's like conversational and based in like real life and how a friend would talk to you if you were chilling in a group of four, just trying to have fun at Denny's. That's like my jam. So it's all about the friendship simulator, man.
Yeah, I like that angle as opposed to, people might think, you tune into Twitch and watch Shayne try out new material for an hour a day or whatever. Yeah. Which, I mean, I suppose that would be cool now and then, but, to me, that wouldn't be as compelling.
No. And we do lots of like things that you might do if you just sat down with the homies, and you were just hanging out in the room. Like the other day we'd watch music videos. I was just like, I'm in a rotting out music video and we were like laughing about it. And we were laughing about, I'm like in the, I was at the show where they film it, and then I'm wearing like a big tall tee with Dragon Ball Z on it. And so you can just clearly see me kicking someone and then diving to the ground like an asshole and hurting my back because I'm too old to be doing these things. And we were laughing about it, that I'm in a rotting out video or whatever. And then we started watching other music, and we were just chilling watching music videos and like that's a very like, people watch this and it's like, yeah, actually, we're just hanging out together. It's very fun to just kind of be a fly on the wall hanging. So
is that kind of the format that you like? Did it take you a while to figure that format out, or did you kind of go into it that way, or how did you kind of find your groove there?
It did take a while. At first I wanted to be Shroud, or Dr. Disrespect. I'm not bad I'm pretty good at video games. My brother plays video games professionally. I've played a few games at close to the professional level. And I've also played a lot of games. Really, I qualified for the pro tournament in Magic the Gathering, and so I'm a real
virgin.
Gamer. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
that.
Yeah. And so I wanted to be like a gamer's gamer. I wanted people to watch me like click heads and be the guy. And I quickly realized that you're not as good. It's a skill to stream.
Right.
And so I was so bad at playing games and interacting with the chat and sort of dealing with all this at once. And I quickly realized like, oh, I'm not this guy. I'm definitely not who I thought I was. And then I began to, I would get tired and I wouldn't want to play games, but I would want to stick to my schedule. And as that happened, I sort of fell into this groove of hanging out on stream and just sort of like interacting with people and having a good time and watching shows or listening to music and sort of. And as I fell into the friendship simulator, I was like, oh, I accidentally carved out my own style of streaming.
Gotcha. And what is your schedule for Twitch?
It's just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 7 Pacific Standard Time to whenever, usually midnight. And sometimes I try to stream earlier or later, but I'm notoriously bad at being early. So
the comedian who had trouble staying on time, I'm shocked. Who could have ever seen that one coming? It seems like that consistency part is really important for Twitch, that people know when to tune in.
Yeah, definitely.
How did you land on that schedule?
Originally it was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and but my schedule changed because basically comedy started to come back for a second during the pandemic. There was like outdoor comedy and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, I work on the weekends. What am I doing? I can't. And so then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is the schedule now, because when the pandemic ends and I begin to work, that will be the time I will be able to stream even when I'm working on the weekends.
Right.
So that's kind of just how I fell into it. And 7 p.m. because I am lazy and I like go to the gym and stuff during the day, and I just want to lay around and not work. Basically,
I go to the gym during the day too. I just can't. I can't at night. My problem is then I get home at like 9 and I can't sleep until super late.
Yep.
Or I could go in the morning, but I like working in the morning. But yeah, so I got to get on the Twitch thing. And how about TikTok? It seems like you've been doing pretty well over there. How long have you been on there?
That's a recent thing. So I only started trying at that since like December.
Okay.
I had it and I literally only used it to laugh at other people on TikTok. And I made like 2 TikToks in like October, and they did pretty good. I was like, oh, I have a couple 100,000 views on these. And then I realized, like the app doesn't know who I am. No one at TikTok, and I didn't even have my normal username. People just found me and liked what I made, and I was like, oh, I'm probably pretty good at this, because I had a popular Vine account too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm in a few. If you ever, you might accidentally see me in the wild in some Vine compilations, and so I was like, oh, I should just make TikTok. I should actually try at this. And so then I like buckled down and tried to make a few funny ones, and then it blew up, and I was like, oh, okay. Cool.
I think TikTok is fucking awesome. Like there's a lot of crap on there, of course, but to me, that is like the forefront of internet creativity right now. There's so many fucking super smart, super creative kids on there that like just make me feel so clueless and stupid and unfunny. And it's amazing.
Yep. And that is the jam. I agree with you. TikTok is where it's at.
You see some of these like 17-year-olds and like, God damn it, that girl's funny. Like, I don't stand a chance.
Yeah, it's I love it. And I'm a child of the internet, which has played to my strengths in my career. And I'm definitely not afraid of progress. So it's so funny because lots of other comics I see all the time, they're doing the old man yells at sky thing. Like, I've been doing comedy for 9 years and I struggled so hard to get popular on Twitter and put out a Comedy Central special, and some 19-year-old kid has 9 million followers on TikTok and everyone loves them. What is this shit? And I'm I'm always like, that you could just also be on TikTok.
The energy you just spent crying about it, you could have just made a TikTok.
Yeah, that's my and so that stuff cracks me up, and I'm just like, go make them. But people don't want to do multiple things.
Well, I think it's also scary. I mean, I feel that too. Like the reason why I'm not on TikTok, well, for one, I just legitimately don't have a lot of time, but I mean, to be honest, part of it is like that it's scary because I don't know if I would be good at it. Like I've done well on YouTube and Instagram, and that's cool, but I would there's a part of me, it's like, oh, well, I just want to tell people I don't have time to be on TikTok, when in reality, like part of it is that I'm scared that I won't do as well on TikTok as I did in other places.
Yeah, I could see you doing well on TikTok, and I always see, because most of my TikTok is like, I don't want to like mentally ill people in Russia blowing stuff up. Like it's very my TikTok is very, because the algorithm knows what you like.
Dude, it's crazy how well they know it. I have opened TikTok on the phone I have now. I had opened it maybe 4 times for like a total of a minute each. And I fucking opened it up and it showed me all this like Vietnamese comedy stuff. My wife is Vietnamese, so I actually do like Vietnamese comedy, like Vietnamese American humor.
Yeah.
I have never fucking once interacted with, or I have now, but I had never interacted with anything like that on TikTok before. How the fuck did they know that a 42-year-old white guy would want to see Vietnamese American jokes?
Dude, it's in your phone. It knows,
It's fucking scary.
It's wild. So yeah, mine just knows that I like wild, videos that are funny, but every once in a while I'll get like the music videos where it's like someone like explaining the history of like a black metal band, or someone being like, this is the difference between this and this music, or here's some facts. I could absolutely see you on the green screen. Some facts. Come on, man.
I need to do it. I need to do it. Part of it is that I legitimately don't have very much free time, but there's the fear of failure too. But I know that I can do it, and you just have to. It's okay, for anybody listening who's afraid of putting themselves out there on any sort of new platform or whatever. It's totally natural to be afraid of it, but you got to do it anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it's that curse where both of us, I think that we have a level of self-awareness that's tapped us into things like hardcore and metal, which you need a lot of passion for. And also they kind of keep you away from like bad comedy, right? Because you're like, oh, but I've sussed you out. I see that you're not being genuine. Fuck you. Yeah. But that skill, which I think is very important and like really useful and something I value in my friends, is also something that keeps you from doing things.
Absolutely.
Because with that self-awareness comes the knowledge that like, oh, I'm going to look stupid. Yes. I'm going to get clowned on. I'm going to fail. And that fear can be devastating. And so you have to balance the self-awareness of seeing other people be bad and knowing, no, you're bad. I don't like that. But also trying to allow yourself to be a little bad sometimes, because you have to be.
You do. I mean, it's like anything else. I mean, how many jokes have you told on stage that flopped, and that probably didn't feel great, but it's part of the process.
The first few years of comedy are an exercise in like debasement. It's just like humiliation.
I don't really enjoy watching most stand-up, but I have tremendous respect for it, because I mean, just getting up there on stage in front of a bunch of people are like, okay, make me laugh.
Yeah.
Like that is brutal. And I know how hard it is even to come up with 5 minutes of good shit. Like how many L's do you have to take to get to that point?
It's a lot. It's a lot. And I started late too. So when I remember taking L's and just being like, I'm 29 years old in a bar in Idaho, just getting like clowned on by these like old dudes. No one thinks I'm funny. It's so miserable. And you're just like, you really gotta want it. You gotta want it.
You're like,
so
hey, motherfucker,
bad.
now I'm famous on TikTok. Who's laughing now?
Boom, got him. I do think that there's some comics do get lost in the sauce, because they go through so much to get to where they are, and they have that authenticity and that realness. But once they get to where they are, it's so easy to be like, all right, fuck all of you. I did it. I did 3 years of being humiliated 5 nights a week. I paid my dues. I puked from being nervous 1,000 times. I lost girlfriends. I was, you know, my family doubted me. I finally made it. And then they kind of lose themselves in that wave of I did it, and they become bad. I mean,
yeah, exactly. And I never want to let that happen to me. You know, I mean, I would say, like, you know, getting to where I'm at on YouTube is a similar kind of achievement of like, that's fucking hard, you know, and that's
incredible.
That's the product of, you know, I started out making zines when I was 14, you know, and this is the product of decades of work on my part. And I'm really proud of it and grateful for it and all that. And just the idea of kind of starting that process over on another platform is like, oh boy. But on the other hand, it's like, well, that's the fucking name of the game. So, you know, the sooner you start, the sooner you're going to get there.
I had that similar thing where I started to get popular at stand up, and I was popular on Instagram, but I had no Twitter following. And I kind of had to like go out and start trying to be funny on Twitter. I'm like very aware of who's funny and why on Twitter. But like 3 years ago, I was like, I'm going to look so stupid tweeting and getting 2 likes, you know? But I was just like, you just got to do it. You just got to fucking go out there and get your 3 likes or whatever, and write jokes every day and post them. And, you know, and now it's worked, you know, but it felt stupid for a long time. And that was the same thing with TikTok, where I was like, man, I'm going to look so stupid to my peers. You know, no one wants, I don't want, like, I'm friends with famous people, and I know that they're going to be like, Shayne, you're in your 30s and you have TikTok. Are you serious? But it's fun. I like it. Fuck off.
And if they're reacting that way, they're wrong and you're right.
Oh, totally. And that's another thing is when people are naysayers, especially about like the new thing, the new fun thing, it's like, do not allow yourself to become old man yells at sky.
100% of the time, you will be historically wrong.
Yeah.
100% of the time.
Yeah. And also it's crazy because I think that people they see the new thing, and this happens in music too. I remember when Crabcore happened, and I was like, I personally was like, yes, this rules so hard, dude. It's so heavy. It's so dumb. And like, I was just like, these people are having fun. And I remember when kids with really long swoopy hair started moshing, and all my friends were like, like, didn't like it. And I was like, this rules, dude. We're having the best time. What are you talking about? I can listen to Blood for Blood, and I could fist fight during the show, and I like that. I do enjoy that vibe. And then I can also go to an Attack show. I can see hot girls. I can mosh my heart out, and I can like laugh. And I get to do more of what I like to do with a different vibe. Like, why are we mad at this? And now all my friends who hated that are now into it. You know what I mean?
Yes, it's the 10-year rule that I've talked about.
Yeah. I remember when you made a video about Attack and stuff, and I was watching it just like hands up in the air, like
whatever the corniest, dumbest shit you can think of now that you're 100% certain will never be taken seriously, it will be.
Dude, when I was the most hardcore kid, I still went to Korn. Because I was like, no, man. Firstly, have you ever seen them live?
Yeah, I saw them on their first national tour of Sick of It All.
They're heavy.
They were amazing.
They're so much heavier live than mixed down for their CD. When I saw them live, I was like, oh my, we should be moshing. Like, we should get this. Yeah, and I still love them. And it's just so funny to watch them go, everyone likes it. Everyone likes it. No one likes it. Everyone likes it. It's like, what? Dude, you're ruining your own life. You could have seen Korn at Ozfest, and you didn't because you were too tough.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. Well, I have a very personal question, which you can feel free to skip if you want. But
okay,
I see sometimes you talk about being single and being on Tinder and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm sure you get tons and tons of female attention. You seem like a good guy. What's the deal?
So the deal with me is, well, firstly, I'm like severely mentally ill. I don't know how much that affects. It's affected past relationships for sure.
Yeah, but there's plenty of, hey, look, even Hitler had a girlfriend.
True, he did. Yeah, he did. He did.
That's a Mr. T Experience song. I stole that joke.
I do get lots of female attention. And truth be told, I'm queer anyways. I get male attention too. I'm about it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know that.
Well, whatever. Insert.
Yeah, no,
whatever
it doesn't
you're
matter.
Interested in.
But I definitely don't want to front and be like, oh no, I'm not getting attention. I have all the options available to me.
Sure.
And I get plenty of attention. But I just it kind of goes back to what we were saying about how I really value that sort of self-awareness in my friends. There's a certain way that I think, especially people like us, come up when we're young and then into adulthood. I think that especially me being so passionate about music and having this weird sort of path, I still maintain a lot of my like goofy childlike wonder, but it is tempered by a lot of seriousness too.
Yes.
I think that's a very specific thing to the hardcore scene where when it's time to get serious, it's the most serious. You know, I have friends in prison, sure. and when it's time to be goofy, no one's goofier. And finding a partner who can do that, especially in our older age, has been challenging. And so, and I am not settling, you know?
Yep.
And so, and then also I got popular, and that just like devastated my ability to connect with people because and this is, oh man, even just knowing I'm about to say it bugs me. It's so gross. I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
And I just want everyone listening to know how much I hate myself. But the clout gap between you and someone else, it truly affects how much you can trust someone, what they want from you. Yes. How they treat you,
and what you can relate to. Like, for example, like if I was gonna, date Ariana Grande, like I have no fucking clue what her life, like she would come home and tell me about, how she, got in an argument with fucking, Britney Spears backstage somewhere. And to her, that's a normal day. And to me, it's like, what the fuck is your life?
Yeah. And so I've had a really hard time making genuine connections romantically. I've even had a hard time making friends now that I've been more popular and moving around and doing other things. And so it's been tough. And I only asked that, by the way,
I'm genuinely curious. I wasn't asking for a joke because you seem like a very self-aware person, who would have a good answer for that question. So that, just to be clear, that's why I asked. Not to make fun of you.
No, not at all. It's a good question. I'm actually surprised more people don't ask about it. I think I used to be married. I'm divorced. I think some people just assume I'm married still, which is fine with me. But yeah, I just struggled to make these genuine connections. A lot of people, do you ever just talk to them and you just feel like I could get away with anything?
Yes.
You're kind of just talking to me, but like
it doesn't feel good. It's weird, and like it shouldn't be that way.
No, and I really, really, really dislike not feeling as if we're on some kind of equal footing. Yeah, and so I mean, even to go back to our conversation earlier when we were talking about how both of us like being a part of the collective and sort of never putting ourselves above and how uncomfortable it makes us romantically, I mean, exponentially, that's worse, right? Feeling that way about a romantic partner is just, I can't imagine anything more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
No. And so finding that person who just kind of is like, I don't give a shit about what you do, but I support you, because people sometimes they'll go too far in the other direction where they're like, I don't care about you and what you do.
Yeah. And you're like, it's like, all right, well,
I want you to support me. I want you to I want you to like what I make,
Right.
Like you could be a fan without being a fan.
Yeah.
Right. And I find that a lot of people in my community and people I interact with on a daily, like on social media and stuff, they manage to do that. And that's really cool. But finding that romantically is tough for sure. So
gotcha.
I have dated a few people, and also I will say when I do meet people that I want to date, I do get a lot of attention from women sexually, and that bothers. I've dated a lot of girls who are like, "Oh, I'm used to dating losers, and watching you get this attention is not something I'm comfortable with."
Which
and
is
I just don't want to.
understandable. You know, who would like that?
Totally, it's tough. So they're like, I can't hang. Like I simply can't, knowing that you could just not be with me and you'd be fine, that you could just go sleep with any of these people. I'm mentally not capable of dealing with it. And I can't fault them, you know, and it is what it is. So that has also affected my ability to date. And so here I am, man, single as hell.
You're about to go stream some Pokemon or whatever.
Dude, tonight we're watching Flavor of Love.
There we go.
So, yeah.
Well, before I let you go to get to that, last question. Let's say, 5 years from now, if everything went exactly the way that you kind of hope it would, what would life look like for you?
Dude, life 5 years from now, if everything goes according to plan, I will be doing comedy. I will have an album that I've self-produced that I've maybe sold to an outlet like Netflix or HBO that's doing very well. I will be touring. I will have a very small apartment here in New York City so that I can work, and I will have some land in Utah, like a ranch where I can ride dirt bikes, shoot guns, listen to loud music, and be an idiot. All my friends and family who need help or assistance or a place to stay will be welcome on this place. I will be having shows there. I will be playing music, and I will be doing my best to be like a force for good in whoever's life I can be. And I will be doing comedy. And that's kind of like my big plan.
Okay.
So yeah, the ranch. It's all about the ranch.
I see no reason why you can't do it.
And you know what? I can't wait to have you down, put a gun in your hands, and then play some music together or something.
All right. Well, I got a couple. I'll bring them.
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, you live in the Pacific Northwest. You got guns?
Yep.
Oh, dude, love it.
Yep. Cool. Well, thank you for making time for this, and good luck on the stream. And hopefully we'll cross paths sooner than later.
Yeah, I hope so.